Good afternoon. My name is Shane Corcoran, and I really appreciate you being here today as I talk about the assignment for Organizational 610, Organizational Theory and Design. Um, this assignment is Module 3.2, Factors of Organizational Structure. We have a pretty short agenda for you today, but the two items on here are going over the elements of organizational structure and the impact that they are currently having, from my perspective on Eagle EV, as well as my proposed Eagle EV organizational structure, taking into account everything we've done this week. Okay, to kick us right off, there are really four elements to influence organizational structure. They are strategy, technology, organizational size, and the environment. We're going to go into each one of these individually, and we're going to kind of discuss what impact they have on any type of organizational structure, and then I'm going to try to kind of relate that back to Eagle EV and what impact these different four things have had currently on our company. So the first one is strategy. Chandler, as well as Bowman and Deal, really kind of highlighted this when they said that structure really follows strategy. I think a lot of times companies want to just put structure in place because it's nice to kind of have maybe there's some sense of security to have sort of these four walls put up about how we're going to kind of proceed with just doing everyday sorts of things. But if the strategy that's kind of handed on from leadership really doesn't mesh well with that type of structure, then you're kind of in for trouble right from the get-go. So I encourage you to really encourage any organization to really understand what the strategy is that they want to execute, and then make sure that the structure that they have for reporting and any type of communications, reporting of actual human resources to people that falls in line and follows the strategy. And then another point to strategy is kind of don't get caught up in what Bowman and Deal refer to as the innovator's dilemma. A lot of times organizations, especially ones that are more in a mature state of things, they are really looking, they might have had a kind of strategy that has been a kind of tried and true, and anything that falls outside of that, whether it be innovative and really on point and really what the market is asking for, can kind of be quickly dismissed. And so when it comes to organizational structure, we want to make sure that our strategy, of course, it guides us. It is our North Star, if you will. But we also need to make sure that our organization is flexible and adaptable to market changes and customer wants and needs, as well as just your internal employees kind of understanding innovative things that could really happen. So as this pertains to Eagle EV, the organization really needs to be able to articulate the objectives and core tenets on how we want to become a electronic vehicle manufacturer and seller. But these tenets really need to be flexible based on market shifts, innovation, and opportunity. So we're seeing right now that Eagle EV, definitely has a strategy put in place, but it's different. Changes in battery technology comes along, as well as just consumer sentiment towards electronic vehicles of all shapes and sizes. We need to make sure that our strategy is able to kind of adapt quickly to reflect that. Moving on to organizational size, just generally speaking, when we talk about how organizational size impacts organizational structure, we kind of plan on that size itself, right? The number of people really makes things just a lot more difficult. It really increases as Griner, I can't know if I can pronounce that correctly, Griner and Quinn and Cameron, as well as Bowman and Deal, all said size increases complexity. So like we said before, we really need to have an organizational structure that is adaptable as we grow, and it's not so rigid that that it can't change as we move into just a bigger and more mature phase of our organization. As well as I think it's a good to point out that when talking about size and organizational structure, the tendency seems to be for more of a loose to a formal structure, right? Organizations tend to be very loose and roles maybe a little less defined. People wearing multiple hats, and as things grow and capabilities are getting built out, we see a lot more formality in roles and responsibilities and division of labor. And that's just sort of a natural progression of thing. How companies do that, I think can definitely change, and I think it can definitely impact how organizations work together in the long term. As far as it comes to Eagle EV, so our size is really, because we're so small, we're really able to choose our own, sort of play this choose your own adventure game in terms of the structure that we want to go with. And I think we need to be adaptable and really understand what is working now may not be what works in the future. Additionally, we need to think about the culture that Eagle is trying to adopt and how the organizational structure might reinforce that. If we keep leadership and operational very segregated, we're going to get some probably distrust and some communication issues, and really not that sense of community culture that we're trying to grow here. That really is beneficial, especially as we become a more mature company. So the third tenet of this is really technology, right? Technology empowers resources at all levels to be informed and the opportunity to take action if leadership lets them. In terms of how technology impacts organizational structure, it really allows people to solve their own problems if they're allowed to do so. The information is there, and if we are hiring the right people, they can really solve that problem with that technology. Technology also increases the ability for autonomy. So like I said before, different people can go off and start solving their own problems, and it doesn't need to be such a top-down process. But technology also allows for everybody to stay connected at a much greater level, right? Even today, a lot of us are virtual, but we are constantly connected. So technology from a not, I've been speaking more to the people side of technology and how they can use that to their benefit. But additionally, companies can utilize technology, to automate certain things. And a lot of old companies really needed to devote a large amount of resources to doing not mundane, but very repeatable tasks. And I think there's a really opportunity now for companies to utilize technology to automate some of this repeatable stuff and allow those resources that had previously done that work to move them into more strategic tasks and more work that really generates value. How this pertains to the company, that's kind of to be seen, right? Technology will play a crucial role in how our organization is not just structured, but how we're connected with each other. We're kind of in a very tech-heavy industry with being in electronic vehicles of any sort, and so we will need to make sure that we are understanding how our customers want to engage with technology and stay on the forefront of all types of all the different aspects of when it comes to the cars, how we interact with the cars, the data that we capture, that sorts of thing. Okay, the fourth tenet when it comes to understanding organizational structure is really the environment. So this isn't necessarily like the outside environment, but I like to think about it as more the cultural environment that we have, or the sense of us when we're at an organization. And the type of environment really helps to dictate the overall structure. So companies that are much more stable and they don't have a lot of fluctuation, a more simple environment and organizational structure is really beneficial for that type of work. On the flip side of that, if you are really in a fast-paced, ever-changing atmosphere, then a more flexible structure and environment really would be more beneficial based on the complex nature of the work. So the environment also has impacts on employees and is impacted by employees, right? the culture of any organization or really anywhere is going to instill on someone new coming into that, and likewise just on a day-to-day basis. It's going to impact how they feel about the organization, how they think the organization feels about them, and that will in turn dictate sort of the energy that these employees are putting into this, right? And I think it's kind of just a vicious loop. Good in is produces good out, and bad culture produces bad employee sentiment and you know. So talentmls.com states really that environment is the personality of an organization, and that's really just done through culture, right? So it's really imperative that we get good people early on, create an inviting place to work, and then really that sense of culture will help us as we grow, right? People will be able to kind of let go of those things that they took on and were very close to at the very early stages of this organization, and they can help bring in new people and really build them up. The thing that's really key is culture is really, really hard to change. And so we need to make sure we get it right from the get-go, because every day that goes by, it's harder to make changes to it. What I love about EVB is that our environment is really just a fun, high stakes environment here. Really, we have exciting tech that we're running, that we're trying to kind of create and implement. We're really rallied around a really great mission, I think, which is from green energy and saving the planet. So I think everybody can kind of get on board with that. Um, it's really imperative that we take a lot of these good things, this good momentum, this good energy, and create a good structure that fosters a really close and tight knit company. And I think this really speaks to just not really speaks, but I think this really kind of boils down to just having easy access to leadership, right? And feeling that all levels of the organization can be heard. Okay, so now we're going to get into my proposed structure for Evo EV. This is uh, this is something that can definitely change as time goes on, but I think that as we are starting off and really kind of ramping up, this would be a great place to start. So this is based on the all-channel network, as described, by Bowman and Deal. And I'm also kind of mixing here some holacratic model tenets as well, that seek to really empower individuals to be more independent problem solvers. Um, and then I have, a lot of experience with agile methodology, so I like to pull in a lot of, rapid cycling and, just kind of ease of access of information. So how we have this set up is we have, an engineering department, we have a manufacturing, or not department, kind of capability groups. We have engineering, manufacturing, finance, sales and marketing, information systems, and legal and compliance. All of these are independent entities that are seeking to do their own things, but we want to make sure that each of them has the ability to speak to one another, as well as have a lot of access to the chief executive officer, right? So it's just constant contact. So that's why I put the CEO in the middle. Additionally, we have our customers, right? Because they are definitely one of our major stakeholders. They're going to be paying for our product, and we need to make sure that our customer has ease of access to our leadership, and our leadership has ease of access to customer groups, so we can understand what they're looking to purchase and what they're wanting in the future. All right, so the engineering group is really in charge of product development and research and development. The manufacturing group is in charge of parts production and sourcing, as well as assembly of the product. Finance is in charge of bookkeeping and investment strategies. Sales and marketing is in charge of customer sales, both retail and fleet, and marketing and advertising. Legal and compliance is in charge of contracting, lobbying, and compliance. IS is in charge of security, networking, data management, and process automation. And the Chief Executive Office is really in charge of company vision and strategy, as well as being the company spokesperson. As we've talked about today, there are definitely a lot of different factors when it comes to creating an organizational structure. I think I would like for us all to take those into account, as well as my model for initially organizing us as an organization. Thank you so much. I look forward to speaking to you again.